I made a video not long ago about my 10 favorite 1980s miniseries, which I titled The Best of the Decade. More than 230,000 views later, I realized I made a couple of mistakes, which the comments section made very clear. While I gave all the love to titles like The Thornbirds, V, Small Sacrifices, and North and South, there were some titles that I totally forgot about. There were some that I was just too young to see when they came out, and so I didn't include them on my list. I didn't even mention them. Obviously, that meant I had to make a follow up video. But first, I had to watch all the miniseries mentioned in the comments that I hadn't seen before, as well as those that I totally forgot about. After watching hours and hours of amazing television, I have now made a new list of the other 10 best 1980s miniseries, plus some honorable mentions. Before we get started, I have to point out that this list is of miniseries from the 1980s, which means you won't see Roots, Centennial, Holocaust, Pearl, Salem's Lot, or Rich Man Poor Man, because they came out in the 70s. Okay, let's get to it because there's so much good stuff to talk about. Number 10, The Blue and the Gray. Based on the writings of Civil War historian Bruce Catton, The Blue and the Gray was a miniseries that aired on CBS in November of 1982. It featured a star-studded cast that included John Hammond, Stacy Keach, Lloyd Bridges, and Gregory Peck as President Abraham Lincoln. The plot revolves around the families of two sisters, Maggie Geyser, played by Colleen Dewhurst, and Evelyn Hale, played by Diane Baker. The Geysers are farmers who live near Charlottesville, Virginia, while the Hales own a small newspaper in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The drama begins right before the Civil War in 1859, when John Geyser leaves the family farm for Pennsylvania, where he gets a job as an artist correspondent for the paper owned by his uncle, Jacob Hale Sr. The Blue and the Gray is available to stream on Apple TV+. Number 9. Master of the Game. Based on the best-selling novel of the same name by Sidney Sheldon, Master of the Game is a 1984 miniseries that stars Diane Cannon and Harry Hamlin. Spanning 4 generations in the lives of the fictional McGregor-Blackwell family, this lavish international saga covers an entire century and focuses on the Blackwell family's rise to wealth from 1890s South Africa, where the family's fortune is made in diamonds, to the primary story of the iron-willed Kate Blackwell, the driven, power-hungry head of the family's embattled corporate empire. The entire miniseries is available for free on YouTube, and the link to Master of the Game is in the description below. Number 8. Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel is a 1985 CBS miniseries starring Peter Strauss as Abel Rosnowski and Sam Neill as William Cain. It's based on a 1979 novel by British author Geoffrey Archer, and it tells the story of 2 men who are born worlds apart. They have absolutely nothing in common, except for the fact that they have the exact same date of birth, April 18th, 1906, and they both have a zeal to succeed in life. William Lowell Cain is the wealthy and powerful Ivy League educated heir to a Boston banking family fortune, while Abel Rosnowski is a Pole who was born into great poverty and eventually migrates to the United States. All 3 parts of Cain and Abel are available for free on YouTube, and the link to each one of those videos is available in the description below. Number 7. The Atlanta Child Murders. The Atlanta Child Murders was a CBS miniseries that aired on February 10th and 12th, 1985. It was a dramatization of the Atlanta child murders cases that took place in the Georgia city from the summer of 1979 through the spring of 1981, in which 29 black children were murdered. The cast included Morgan Freeman, James Earl Jones, Rip Torn, Jason Robards, Ruby Dee, Martin Sheen, and Bill Paxton. The killings gained nationwide attention, with many suspecting that they were the work of the Ku Klux Klan or a similar white supremacist group. But in June 1981, the shocking true identity of the killer was revealed when he was arrested by police. Some people do speculate that the man in custody was not the real killer, and that local law enforcement officials used him as a scapegoat to bring a seemingly unsolvable case to a close. But it is generally presumed that the right man was ultimately convicted. The entire series of the Atlanta child murders is available for free on YouTube, and the link is in the description below. Number 6. Chiefs. Chiefs was a 1983 CBS miniseries that featured a star-studded ensemble cast that included Charlton Heston, Keith Carradine, Danny Glover, Paul Sorvino, Lane Smith, Wayne Rogers, and Billy D. Williams. Set in the fictional town of Delano, Georgia, Chiefs follows three generations of Delano police chiefs as they investigate a series of murders. The story begins in 1924, when the town patriarch, Hugh Holmes, played by Heston, whose character narrates the story, decides that the town has grown large enough to require a jail and a full time police officer. There is, of course, way more to this miniseries than just murder investigations. There is also a parallel storyline that focuses on one of the police chief's sons, who is a World War II vet who becomes a lawyer and very powerful liberal politician. The miniseries does have a different ending than the book, which did lead to some criticism, but it is definitely worth the watch. Chiefs is available for free on YouTube, and the link is in the description below. Number 5. The Deliberate Stranger. The Deliberate Stranger was a 1986 NBC miniseries based on the book of the same name from reporter Richard Larson. It was about serial killer Ted Bundy, and it starred Mark Harmon, who at the time was People magazine's sexiest man alive. The film skips over Bundy's childhood, early life, and his first 6 known victims, his first 5 murders, and the first victim who survived. Instead, it picks up the story with the murder of George Ann Hawkins, and then it follows Bundy's further crimes in Washington, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. This movie was made before Bundy gave his death row confession to journalist Stephen Michaud, so there were a lot of details about Bundy's crimes in The Deliberate Stranger that weren't included because they were not yet known. But still, The Deliberate Stranger gets a spot on my list because of its cultural significance. The bad news is that this movie is incredibly hard to find. You can buy it on DVD from Amazon, but good luck finding a site that streams it. Number 4. Lace. Lace was a 1984 ABC miniseries that followed the search by film star Lily, played by Phoebe Cates, for her natural mother, who gave her up for adoption as a newborn. Lace was one of the highest rated television movies of the 1983-84 television season, and it included a famous line that was named one of the best in television history by TV Guide. It happens when Lily addresses the three women who are possibly her mother, played by Brooke Adams, Bess Armstrong, and Maxine Pascal.
Which one of you bitches is my mother?
Lace was followed by a 2-part sequel, Lace 2, which aired on ABC in May 1985 and had a plot that involved Lily's search for the identity of her father. Unfortunately, there is no place online to stream Lace for free or to rent it. The only way that you can watch Lace is to buy a DVD copy, which is available on Amazon. Number 3. Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables is a 1985 Canadian miniseries based on the 1908 novel of the same name by author Lucy Maud Montgomery, and it is the first in a series of 4 films. It stars Megan Follows in the title role of Anne Shirley, and I promise it holds a special place in the hearts of millions of Gen X girls who grew up in the 80s. Both parts of the original film were among the highest rated programs of any genre ever to air on a Canadian television network. Anne of Green Gables was also insanely popular when it aired on PBS in the United States in 1986, and it achieved huge ratings in the UK when it aired there in 1987. The entire Anne of Green Gables series is available to rent on Amazon Prime Video, but there is also a link in the description to Gazebo TV, which has the rights to the entire series and has a streaming site where you can rent or buy all of the movies or the entire series or just one at a time. Number 2. The Winds of War. The Winds of War is a 1983 American miniseries based on the 1971 novel of the same name. It follows the lives of the fictional Henry and Jastrow families as they intersect with the major global events of the early years of World War II. The series also includes segments of documentary footage and narration by William Woodson to explain major events and important characters. The Winds of War stars an ensemble cast that features Robert Mitchum, Ali McGraw, Jan Michael Vincent, John Houseman, Polly Bergen, Peter Graves, Victoria Tennant, and Ralph Bellamy. The series aired over 7 nights in February of 1983 on ABC, and it scored 140 million viewers, making it the most watched miniseries at that time. The Winds of War also won 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, and its massive success spawned a 1988 sequel miniseries, War and Remembrance, which is just as good. The entire series of Winds of War is available for free on YouTube, and there is a link in the description below. Before I get to the number one pick on my list, I'm going to throw out some honorable mentions that need to be named. First up, If Tomorrow Comes. Madeline Smith, Tom Berenger, and David Keith star in this 1986 miniseries based on a bestseller from Sidney Sheldon that's all about romance and adventure among con artists. Minstrel's Daughter, a 1984 miniseries adapted from a Judith Krantz best-selling novel about an arrogant Paris painter who attracts a number of women from the 1920s to the 1970s while he focuses on leaving a legacy for his daughter. The Bourne Identity, a 1988 ABC miniseries starring Richard Chamberlain and Jacqueline Smith, based on Robert Ludlum's novel more than a decade before the Matt Damon version hit the big screen. Queenie, a 1987 miniseries about an Anglo-Indian woman who emigrates from India to Great Britain, pursues fame and fortune at the cost of her own personal happiness, and becomes a Hollywood movie star while suppressing the truth of her heritage. Christopher Columbus, a 1985 miniseries broadcast in Italy and the United States that told the story of the life of Christopher Columbus, with Gabriel Byrne starring as the explorer. I'll Take Manhattan. Valerie Bertinelli, Barry Bostwick, and Perry King star in this 1987 miniseries based on another Judith Krantz novel, this time about a New York magazine publishing empire. The Last Days of Pompeii, an Italian-American miniseries from 1984 that starred Ned Beatty, Ernest Borgnine, Olivia Hussey, and Leslie Ann Down. It's based on the 1834 novel of the same name by Edward Bulwer Lytton. Fresno, a big-budget comedy miniseries from 1986 that parodied nighttime soap operas like Dallas, Dynasty, and Falcon Crest. It starred Carol Burnett, Dabney Coleman, and Charles Grodin, with costume design by Bob Mackie. East of Eden, a 1981 miniseries based on the John Steinbeck novel that stars Jane Seymour, Timothy Bottoms, Bruce Boxleitner, and Karen Allen. This one was a controversial miniseries due to its portrayal of violence and sexual sadism. Number 1. Shogun. Shogun is a 1980 miniseries based on James Clavell's 1975 novel of the same name. It was first broadcast on NBC over 5 nights in September of 1980, and it starred Richard Chamberlain as Pilot Major John Blackthorne, an English navigator of a Dutch trading ship that is blown ashore by a violent storm on the east coast of Japan, and then he's temporarily taken prisoner by samurai warriors. The miniseries is loosely based on the adventures of English navigator William Adams, who journeyed to Japan in 1600 and rose to high rank in the service of the shogun. Blackthorne's character is based on Adams and his transforming experiences and political intrigues in feudal Japan in the early 17th century. Unfortunately, the original Shogun miniseries is not available for free on YouTube, but you can watch it in its entirety with a paid subscription to Paramount Plus, Roku Channel, or Amazon Prime Video. And that's my list of the 10 other best TV miniseries of the 1980s, plus some honorable mentions that definitely deserve a rewatch. Be sure to check out the links in the description for all of the miniseries that are available here on YouTube, and please like and subscribe for more content like this. Okay, bye.